good morning. So this morning we already heard about what Rx-360 is offering, all the tools, and there was a lot of talk about audits. And Gerald told us about the regulatory requirements issued in Europe to safeguard supply chain security. And again, the focus was also on audits. So now we have seen there are some requirements and there is an organization offering tools. And I would like to tell you from industry perspective, from a pharmaceutical company, how these opportunities can be used to ensure the supply chain security and to make use of these tools within an organization. Because at the end of the day, there might be a nice organization like Rx and they're offering all these tools for auditing, but you have to implement it into your organization. And there are some challenges. And I would like to give you some insight how we at BioHealthcare have managed this. Okay, when you look at the new requirements implemented by the FMD, we see that there are a lot of new obligations for audits. And of course, audits are a very effective tool to verify GMP and GDP, to be on site, to verify that the material is manufactured according to the standards that you expect. And now we have these obligations, and they are extended. In the past, of course, API manufacturers have been audited. I think that was always a requirement. But now we see the requirement to also include in the audit scheme the audits of distributors of APIs. And we also have to audit the intermediate manufacturers of APIs. So we have to safeguard the entire supply chain in the production of APIs. And according to a risk-based approach, also excipient manufacturers have to be audited. And this in total is resulting in an increased audit burden, not only on the pharmaceutical industry, but also on the suppliers. And on both sides, there are limited resources. So from my experience, when I'm asking manufacturers, I often hear that they are not able to offer the audit because they are already blocked, and sometimes a year in advance. And they are caused by this, we have the risk that audits are fully declined or postponed. And we heard that for the QP declarations, we have to include the date of the last audit, and the authorities expect normally certain frequencies for audits. So I think for APIs, this is generally 3 years, for excipients maybe 5 years, it depends. But if we cannot meet this audit frequency, there might be the risk that we cannot issue the QP declarations. We have also the risk that maybe some small customers of suppliers cannot access the sites because maybe they only buy a few kilograms of big capacity, and therefore they have difficulties to access the manufacturing sites. So this in total are the requirements and the risks. And what have we done within our company to implement these new requirements from the FMD? We started with an impact assessment. What does this mean for us with regard to where are the new audit obligations in total for all our suppliers, for excipients, intermediate manufacturers, and so on? And we have done this on the risk-based planning tools, and we have included in this risk assessment what processes are affected. What products are we sourcing? Where is the location of the manufacturer? What is the strategic importance of this material? Where are the target markets? And what is the compliance history of the manufacturer? And based on this, we have determined the required audit frequency. If there are expectations from authorities, of course, we have included this. We determined the audit duration, the scope of the audit, and the required audit expertise. So the next step was to identify suitable audit resources. Within our company, of course, we are a global company, we have locations, manufacturing sites worldwide, and we tried to identify auditors at the site, and we are training them. So we created global auditor communities all over the world. We have an Asian community, an US community. We do training, so we really try to expand our audit resources. But at the end of the day, this is not sufficient to fulfill the new audit obligations. So therefore, we started a few years ago to make use of external resources, of third parties. And at that point in time, we saw that Rx-360 is offering a lot of opportunities to fulfill these obligations. Yeah, they offer the joint audit scheme. So that would be a relief not only for us as a manufacturer, but also for the suppliers to host less audit. They offer qualified audit firms and qualified auditors. They are selected according to defined standards that we can rely on. And they are conducting the audits according to globally accepted audit standards. And they meet the antitrust laws, which is a very, very important thing. So with this in mind, we might see, okay, there is a good scheme, this Rx-360, so everything is there, so how to use these tools? But then we are coming to the challenges, because you cannot simply use this third-party audits. There are a lot of challenges. So, for example, one important thing is the acceptance of third-party audits. So there might be, within the pharmaceutical industry, always the problem that it's not sure that the authorities will accept these third-party audits. Later, for example, when you issue the QP declaration, will the authorities accept the audits that are listed in the QP declaration? So there might be the wish to do the audits by themselves and not done by a third party. On the other hand, there are the suppliers. Do they accept to be audited by a third party? So when I'm asking our suppliers that maybe the audit can be done by a third party, they are sometimes not sure whether this is appropriate. And maybe one big hurdle is also the acceptance within your organization. So several of you are members of Rx, and you are presenting Rx, representing Rx in this organization, in all the working groups, but your companies are much bigger. You have manufacturing sites all over the world, and in all regions. And do the site QAs accept these third-party audits? So therefore, it's so important that all these processes are aligned with your internal audit processes. You have to make sure that this third-party audit, and especially the Rx joint audit scheme, is aligned with your planning and scheduling processes, with the reporting of the audits and with the follow-up of the observations. There might be also a challenge to formally qualify the third parties. So when I think about the QP declaration, the template which is not yet valid, but we're still in the status of the draft of 2010, but there's clearly written that if a third-party audit is used, and this audit is used for the QP declaration, this third party has to be formally qualified. And last but not least, we have to build trust in third-party audits. I know many auditors, many companies who say, okay, there is a third-party audit, but I have not seen the manufacturer but with my own eyes. I need to do this audit by myself according to my standards. I do not rely on the third-party audits. So we have to build trust in the third-party audits. So now the next slides I will show you step by step what we have done internally to make use, to integrate Rx-360 audits into our audit processes. I think the most important step within our company was that our quality management, the upper level, fully supports the outsourcing of audits and the Rx-360 audit program. I think this was the most important step, and on the sheets that are distributed by Rx and you might find on your desk, there are the signatures of the most important quality and supply chain people of Bayer who have signed this. This is Richard Spoor from Procurement and Paul Heiden. He's the head of our Quality, Health, Safety, Environment department. So they really endorse this program. And this is important for me because I'm managing audits, I'm organizing audits, I'm in contact with all the manufacturing sites of Bayer worldwide. When I'm talking to them and they have their doubts about the system, I can tell them, look, our boss endorsed this. And then we can discuss on this basis. So this was very, very important for us. One thing that is quite important within our organization to implement is that we have a special global setup for managing audits within our organization. We have a corporate audit organization and a so-called global audit governance process. That means we have harmonized processes and procedures that are issued by our department that are followed by all sites globally. We have a common global audit database. All audits have to be documented in this database. All suppliers, all potential auditees are within this database from all sites. So from El Salvador, from New Zealand, from Korea, from everywhere. So that we have the oversight about all required audits. We have a globally managed auditor training that assures that we are all auditing according to the same standards and we have at our sites all the same expectations. And we have this cross-functional governance bodies, which is quite important because, like maybe also your companies, we are quite diversified. We have a veterinary business, we have a consumer care business, pharmaceuticals, medical care, medical devices. So there might be different requirements. But in order to align all this, we have these cross-functional bodies where all this information is exchanged. Another important thing within our organization is that we are trying to increase the awareness level for Rx-360 within our organization. So we are providing all the information which is available, which is provided by Rx. There are these activity reports, fresh reports, and also training material. We actively disseminate this within our organization. And what's quite important, because this audit department is not operating alone in this area, we have included supply chain departments and procurement. And we distribute the information, and the colleagues from these two departments are also members of Rx working groups. For the audit process itself, we also have to fulfill some obligations in order to implement Rx audits or third-party audits. One important thing is that our global audit entities include the option of third-party audits. So we clearly describe the requirements to be fulfilled that a third-party audit can be used to qualify a supplier. We have lists of the individual third-party auditors which are qualified according to our standards. And one important thing is that we have a formal qualification report of Rx-360. This report is distributed to all our sites, and if a site is using an Rx audit report, qualification of their suppliers, then they can justify the use of this audit by showing this qualification report to inspectors. And this formal qualification includes, for example, the evaluation of the quality management system of Rx-360, how Rx-360 is selecting audit firms and qualify individual auditors. We have evaluated the membership materials, especially the confidentiality agreements. We have evaluated the pilot audits. So 2010, 2011, there were several pilot audits. We have evaluated them, especially the audit reports, whether the audit reports include all the information that we need to qualify a manufacturer. In this qualification report, we have also defined prerequisites that have to be fulfilled by each site to make use of this audit report. And again, very important, this qualification report was approved by the head of the corporate audit function. important step is to include the Rx-360 audits, is to include, to align this with our internal audit planning processes. So, as I said before, that we have a lot of manufacturing sites globally, and if they individually do their audit planning, it would be very, very difficult to align this with the Rx joint audit process. In order to enable this, we have one single point of contact for Rx audit activities, so that all information within our company is collected and then aligned with what is offered by Rx-360. And as previously said, we have this global audit database, which gives us full oversight over all audits which are planned for the current year. And by this database, we are able to identify opportunities for joint audits. And together with the quality units of the different divisions and sites, we can decide whether for a particular supplier a joint audit by Rx-360 is appropriate or not. And this is based on this risk-based audit planning, and especially on the GMP compliance history. And one important thing is how big is the probability that other sponsors will join. So if this is a very particular product which is only produced for us, there might be low probability that there will be an Rx audit. And at the end of the day, all our audit requests are posted into the Rx-360 database. Another important thing is to include our suppliers in the decision whether an Rx audit, joint audit is appropriate or not. It's not simply the case that an audit request is put into the Rx database and then you wait until maybe other sponsors join and then the audit will take place or not. We have to increase the probability that this audit will take place. So therefore, we have a direct communication with the suppliers and we align this with our procurement department. We have to discuss with the supplier whether they accept the joint audit and whether they agree to replace, to be audited by biohealthcare by a joint audit. And in order to increase the probability, we need more co-sponsors. And therefore, we are asking the suppliers to have a look at all the list of customers. And the list of Rx members is in the internet. So they can compare how many of their customers are already Rx members. And then they can propose to their customers, to the other customers also to join this audit. And if this does not work, we have these cases that also supplier sites of the members maybe are not aware of Rx or are not a little bit unwilling to join this audit. Then there's the opportunity within our working group members that I contact also some of you, and we have several cases whereby this direct contact we have enabled this joint audit. And last but not least, which is also quite important, we start to discuss with the suppliers the joint audits, the Rx-360 joint audits, already when we start the business. So these are, in many cases, now part of the quality assurance agreements. So that the discussion about conducting an Rx joint audit is not done for each particular audit. So this is done from the beginning of the business relation. One important thing is that to use Rx-360 audits, joint audits, for the qualification of our suppliers is that these audits are equivalent to our audits, that they fulfill our standards. Of course, you can have a look at the audits, at the Rx-360 audit standards for APIs, for excipients, but at the end of the day, you have to review the audit reports, and it's the conclusion of each qualified person whether this audit report fulfills the requirements or not. So what we do when we receive a joint audit report, these audits are reviewed according to our standards, whether these reports fulfill all the requirements and that all relevant GMP elements are covered. Then these reports are transferred into our global audit database, and at that point in time they are accessible to all sites. And they are handled fully equivalent to our internal audit reports. So we do the rating of the observations and the rating of the entire audit according to the same standards, so that there is no difference. We write an internal summary where we describe the evaluation of this audit, and this internal summary is distributed up to the highest level of management within our company, so that they do not see any difference whether this was their audit or a third-party audit. And what we also do is the follow-up of the CAPA implementation. Information is provided by Rx-360, but if this information from our perspective is not sufficient, we are able to directly contact the supplier and ask for more information. So these are the tools that we are applying, and we have already made use of several Rx-360 audits. But at the end of the day, the important thing is that this works. And I think we have 3 good examples that it works, because during authority inspections at 3 of our sites, the inspectors have reviewed the Rx-360 audit reports, and they have reviewed how we have implemented this into our process. They have reviewed our qualification report, and in all the 3 cases, they have fully accepted this. And I think for us, this was the most important step to build up the trust in the value of the Rx-360 audits. Thank you, and I'm pretty sure we will have some